get started. Welcome everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have one addition to the agenda tonight, and that is the cemetery deed for Harold and Cindy Smith. Anybody else have anything?
Permission for the giving tree? Do you want that as a note or just information?
We can throw it on there.
So moved.
Second, sorry.
So moved and seconded to add the cemetery deeds for Harold and Cindy Smith and the giving tree. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, remarks. The board would like to give its condolences to the family of Irene Miller. I know we're a little late in doing so, but Irene was an employee of the town of Vernon, and we appreciated her service here and the family itself. The other announcement that I have is a few hours ago on social media, Colebrook store has announced its closure at the end of the year unless something changes dramatically in the usage. So I will encourage all Vernon residents and all folks that work here in Vernon to utilize that service. It's been a great asset to the community thus far, from being able to grab, quick grocery items and not having to drive all the way into town, and breakfast sandwiches for lunch, all that kind of thing. Please, if at all possible, support the Colebrook store so we can maintain that store in the town of Vernon. Open public comments on agenda items only. Come on up, Cindy.
I did a spreadsheet for all of you to give you additional information on the funds that you were to talk about at Harvard.
Oh, that's wonderful, because
okay.
I wondered about that.
I tried to put them in the order that the articles are in. Do you want one?
Yeah, please.
Do you want one?
Anyone else? Guests, come on up, RT. RT Brown from BDCC.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Good.
First of
How
all,
are you?
bear with me while I pass out the material. And congratulations to Chris and Josh on the Rising Star.
Thank you.
Awards. So, we'll see if I can talk and do this at the same time. We're here, we try to update as many select boards as possible during the year with our programs, and also to one short.
What's your?
Okay. So I'm here to do that this evening. I will do my best without the packets because I've given them all away. Yeah, let me I'll use this as my prompt.
I'll let you borrow them.
So, every year we try to, as I said, update select boards with what our projects are. But also, back in June, we sent our annual funding request to municipalities, so I'm here to support that request as well. I know you, in the past, have asked that we petition. This year, we sort of do that assessment on, we have a limited staff and capacity, so where we are able to put resources for those efforts, we're not able to do that in Vernon this year, but we still request that maybe you consider it as a separate article, and we'd certainly make sure somebody's there to address that on town meeting day. And I know in the past, our request has been put together with other nonprofits and service-focused organizations. I want to speak to that for a minute. In many ways, we're a little bit different because we're probably one of the only organizations that sort of has a focus on the revenue side of the equation. So that might resonate a little bit with fiscal conservatives. In order for people to support the things that they love about Southern Vermont, those sorts of services that are here, the people need to be able to have houses and pay their property taxes, have jobs, pay their income taxes that go to those kinds of programs. So our work in economic development, the sole focus is on that revenue side. So, I just like you to think about that a little bit more in your consideration for whether or not you could put this in as an article for town meeting. So now I'll jump to some programmatic updates. As you know, the relationship between Brattleboro Development, Credit Corporation, and SEVEDS, there's a close relationship. We like to say SEVEDS leads with strategy and insight and contracts with the BDCC to operationally fulfill that work. SEVEDS has a board but no staff. SEVEDS contracts with the BDCC to do that work. So sometimes it gets a little confusing when trying to understand the relationship. We look for gaps and then go out and try to address those gaps. One example, and it supports the area that I work in, which is the development of entrepreneurs and small business owners, is the Southern Vermont Micro Entrepreneur Loan Fund. This is for folks who can't obtain traditional financing. So a business that is new can't walk into a bank and provide multiple years of financial historical statements. So we're able to fill that gap by supporting them with a loan. And then, some businesses, for whatever reason, just won't qualify for a traditional loan. So we sort of look at a whole picture and try to understand if the project can be funded so that they can help grow their business. In fact, I had a meeting today with a Vernon resident who I've worked with over the past, who's interested in this program. So we'll see where that goes. SEVEDS works on the roadmap for the region, the economic development roadmap. As you probably know, it's called SEDS, the Southeast, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. We just went through an update in 2019, and it's actually a bi-county SEDS, so it includes Bennington County and Windham County, and many of the same strategies and objectives, attracting a younger workforce, helping to retain business and grow business, improving the overall wages, household median income in the region. So those sorts of endeavors and considerations are part of that SEDS. We have our internship program for recent college graduates or folks enrolled in college. We try to place them with area employers. Notably, one of the big projects that's really gained traction this year is Pipelines Pathways, the P3 program. So it's Pipelines Pathways program, and it is a program where we have funded. We went out and received funding to put a person in all 4 high schools in the region so that they can help connect students with understand what are the skills that they need to go into a career. We work with the schools to understand that they just don't have the capacity to think about it from sort of a vocational perspective. So we realize that they don't have the capacity, our employers have a need, so we're gonna have to go out and get the funding to get somebody in those schools to work with those students. And it also helps and complements the other high school program we have, Fast Tracks, which exposes sophomores to area employers so that they know that there's opportunities here should they not necessarily be college bound or in fact if they are college bound. We have the Young Professionals program, which you folks are aware of. That helps young professionals have a a rounded life if they have a job but no friends. My colleague, I'm stealing this from my colleague Alex Beck, who used to run the program. If they have a job and no friends, they're probably not going to stay. If they have friends but no job, probably not going to stay. So we try to surround them with some activities, and that can, it ranges anything from social to very practical, like how to buy your first house kinds of programming. We just announced an event that's going to take place on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, where I forget what they labeled it, but the idea is essentially trying to capture the people that are coming home to visit their parents. So, come by Hermit Thrush and, network, meet some people, maybe meet a new potential employer, and we'll see how that goes. It's, this is our first year out of the gate with that, but we'll see what happens. In the folder is also the most recent annual report. It's a pared down version than what we've done in the past, since we've now done it for a couple of years. It's not as dense, so you should be able to digest it. But it has a lot of the information about our impact analysis and some of the highlight projects that we've done this year. We have the relatively new program, and Michelle, I know you and I have talked about it a little bit, the BDCC's Community Facilities Technical Support Program. It's a USDA funded program that helps try and align projects with the USDA Community Facilities Program. It's what we call a technical assistance program, so it really tries to just help projects get from point A to point B. A lot of towns don't have a wonderful town administrator, and it's a volunteer select board, so it can be very difficult for folks to sort of wind their way through the USDA maze. So we saw that need and put this program in place to help them bring additional capacity to those types of projects, like a renovation of the town hall, or I had a visit with another town who has a building that they'd like to try to do something with. So oftentimes they're multi-year projects, but they need to do an environmental survey, they need to do structural analysis, so a lot of things need to be coordinated to understand what those projects are all about. I talked really fast. I don't know if there's any questions. I think I've hit on the highlights, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Questions?
Leave you to the rest of your evening.
I do not have any questions. I did just start working with, forgive me, I've forgotten her name, but she comes up to Leland and Gray.
Oh, Christy.
Chris, yes.
Yeah.
So I did just start working with her. I think the stuff that you guys are doing is great. I know that Young Professionals is doing a first-time home buyers workshop, which is anybody that's going to go for first-time homeowners loan has to go through those courses. So these are all stuff that you guys are offering for the people around. I would be curious what kind of, how much assistance or help does come back to Vernon? How many people from Vernon are you seeing and helping?
Yeah, it's hard for me to answer. Oh, well, no, it's not hard for me to answer. Sometimes I have concerns about confidentiality stuff.
Sure.
So, I've had a couple of clients from Vernon. I will stress that we think of our work as a regional organization, similar to like the Wyndham Regional Commission. The easiest way for me to say it is we're trying to build a more vibrant economy in southern Vermont. So much of the work has informed, for example, some of the industry expansion projects like GS Precision or the paper mill that was about to close last year. I mean, I would wager there's a bunch of people that live in Vernon that work at those facilities, and the work of SEVEDS has helped to bring the capacity to the region, the ability to do those kinds of projects and to retain those kinds of projects. So it's a complicated.
Good enough. I understand what you're saying. That's fine.
Answer, but yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
appreciate your time. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Artie.
Approval of regular meeting minutes from the 5th and budget from the 6th, please.
Can I have it back? Artie?
Yes?
Can I have
Oh,
it
I
back?
am so sorry.
On the November 5th minutes,
I really want.
on the page 5, oh, 1, 2, 3, in the 4th paragraph, it should be December 4th. I did say the 5th, but I was guessing at the date. And it's actually December 4th that someone from the Census Bureau will be in the library to talk to people. That was all I had. And so do we do these separate then?
Yeah, we'll do them separate since we gotta do a correction on one.
Yeah. I move that we accept the Tuesday, November 5th Select Board minutes as corrected.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the regular meeting minutes from November 5th as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
And I move that we approve the Wednesday, November 6th special budget meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the budget meeting minutes as written. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I abstain.
One abstention. Okay, bills and warrants, please.
All right, I move that we approve payment of the following warrant. 11T, accounts payable, $64,538.70. 44S, $8,682.12. And 45S payroll, $7,606.61.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the bills and warrants as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, recreation lawnmower, Seth is at a basketball meeting, so I am going to be speaking to it. You have in your packet a quote of $10,200 for a lake replacement mower. That money is already sitting in the capital plan to be used. And being that it's a town full of John Deeres, we would like to stay that way, forego the bid policy, because we can send it to 3 different John Deere dealers if we want, I guess. But if we're happy with the quote that we have and that it's a light product and the money is already there to replace, then we'd like to forego the bid policy and get approval to expend that money.
So are you foregoing
Waiving bid.
Waiving the bid policy.
because the amount he's got is over the 10,000, or just because you just wanna?
Because we can send it out to 3 John Deere dealers if we wanted to, but it doesn't really make any sense because they all sell at the same price.
So in here it also says that can't use the capital money? I don't understand that.
It's gotta be over $10,000 to use the capital
Oh,
money.
so he's afraid if it came in under, okay.
Yeah.
And who is
I
this
get it now.
from?
It's Padula Brothers in Greenfield.
But the price is the same regardless of dealership?
That would be my understanding. It's a John Deere, and Toyota's a Toyota. They all pay the same for them, so.
I don't feel like there's a ton of information here with this.
Well,
I mean,
That's fine.
The department's bringing more.
yeah.
I think that if we were to waive it without a little more here, that is, it's that not a good precedent.
I'm not worried about it.
I
We can
mean,
ask him to send us bids.
10,000's been put aside, but if he can get it for less, he can't buy it because it's less?
If it goes under 10,000, then it has to come out of a budget. It can't be used out of capital plan because it'd be under $10,000.
That's great.
And unless he could find $10,000 extra in his budget, he wouldn't be able to purchase it.
That's why capital plans are what they are, and the reason that we made that little $500 emergency fund thing, because when you set limitations like that to your capital plan, which I don't think are bad, but this is what you deal with. You either put it in the budget or you do what you got. But as far as like specs on what the mower is and stuff like that, we can absolutely get those.
And I don't care if we forego the bid process, but I don't feel comfortable doing that based on a couple of numbers that are written here with
Sure.
nothing actually from the dealership or anything.
That's fine. I will ask him to get that to us. And we can move it to next agenda.
I'm just thinking there's things in the past that came under what was in the capital plan. Maybe ultimately they cost more than $10,000, but I can't remember, like doing the resurfacing the tennis courts came in way less than,
But Gene, it was over 10,000.
it still was over
Yeah.
10.
14,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
14.
Okay.
It's gotta be over
Yeah.
10.
Captain's got his hand up.
So,
Is that including selling the old mower outright trade-in, or?
I believe we were holding on to it, but I don't remember that for sure. I haven't been to a recreation board meeting in quite some time.
Because there were also the attachments to it, the brush and the snow blower
I
attachment.
believe those are all gone, but I could be wrong. I really don't know. I don't pay attention to the inventory of the town, unfortunately, of every piece of equipment that we have.
Next meeting would be good.
All right, we will move it to the next meeting. Ask them to provide the bid specs and the actual quote.
So how, I mean, could that go before the town if there was one cheaper? Can the town say that, sure, we would allow you to use that money, or it's absolutely off limits if it's under 10 grand?
The way it's written, if it's under 10 grand, you can't use it.
But do the townspeople have the right to overrule that in a town meeting so
They
that you
can-
could get a lower priced piece of equipment and save money? This sounds ridiculous.
It
You
sounds
don't
like
have
it's
that
like-
option.
You can change
You
the
just gotta
dollar
vote for
figure
that.
of the capital plan, that we can vote at town meeting to say you don't need a specific dollar figure to use the capital plan.
Or you could just put it in the recreation budget.
Or you can put it in the recreation budget. So, I don't know, could we move that money from the capital plan to, so, you're gonna be raising $10,000 more by doing, or $9,500 more by taxes, by
No,
doing
I'm
that.
asking if
And then-
at town meeting, the townspeople can vote to approve spending less than $10,000 because it saves them money and still take that out of the capital plan.
They'd have to change the
You have
requirements.
to change everything,
But they could vote to change, we could have an article to change the requirements.
yeah, that's what I mean, we can change it so there is no limit, and whatever, we need, it doesn't have to be $10,000, it could be $2, and we can put it in the capital plan. But you have to change everything leading up to it to be able to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, as I mentioned, that's part of the reason why we went to that $500 fund,
Yeah.
is because we have that fund set, and if we don't hit that mark, then we can't do anything with that, out of that fund, so. So I will ask Seth to provide us the full information on that lawnmower. Transportation Alternatives, Grant Tyler Hill Road Culvert. So you can talk to that. 'Cause I don't know
So,
anything about it.
as part of the grant requirement, as, when we're writing this grant, is that it goes to public meeting and that there's an opportunity for public comment. We are asking for a $300,000 grant. This is a $430,000 project. It is probably not gonna be completed for at least 3 years. It could be longer than that. There's a lot of design and engineering that goes into it. And this is the opportunity for the public to make comments on whether they want us to actually apply this. and the select board.
Where is this culvert? Because it seemed like there was some culverts done in the last several years on
This is
Tyler
the,
Hill.
this is the Tyler Hill culvert. This is a temporary culvert that was put in because the first culvert was actually rotted. And the state has given us a permit to have this temporary culvert in, but it does need to be repaired as soon as we can secure funding to get it done.
Oh, okay.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, that would be great.
I move that we approve the applying for the grant for this Tyler Road culvert.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the, what are we approving exactly?
The grant.
Applying for
Applying
the
for the
grant
grant.
for the transportation alternatives
Okay.
grant for the Tyler Hill culvert.
Okay. So
I'll
moved and
make it.
seconded to approve the application for the Transportation Alternatives Grant for the Tyler Hill Road Culvert. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, let's go through some articles. Shall the voters appropriate a sum of $20,000 to be raised by taxes to fund the previously established Vernon Farmland Protection Fund?
And this was a request that the Farmland Protection started last year to replenish the fund after monies were used. I believe they would like to get the fund back to up to, I'm sorry, I think it's $200,000. So I think that their plan is to do it this year and next year is their request.
The current balance is
Oh,
$200,000.
So, I'm wrong, don't quote me.
Okay.
That's why I said don't quote me about the total. They have a specific total in mind. I believe that they wanted to do this year and another 20 next year.
Maybe
And,
25.
And until they get to that. sort of amount.
That's a good idea.
But that was the request that came from that.
Chris?
Yep.
Joe?
Folks, is it okay to ask questions at this point about these different articles, or are these?
Yeah, let us get through our discussion here, but yes, you can. Jeff?
It's fine with me.
Gene?
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Well, 2 years ago, I think Art Miller stood up and talked about some farmland with this fund, I believe. I think it was Mr. Dunkley's farm, some of his land that was being put on. How many more farms do we keep taking money and putting towards this fund to preserve farmland, which I get, but we don't have, as I see it, our revenue that we had from Vermont Yankee is gone, and we keep putting this farmland off and conserving it. What about developing some of this land to put some more houses to get some more property tax relief? All these are about through taxation, and at what point do we look at this and say, we're kind of broke? And I keep looking at the farmland, and I get it, but how many more pieces of property in Vernon, which is one of the smallest towns in Vermont, are we going to keep putting off the farmland and not develop the actual town a little bit to help us out a bit?
Can I get your name?
Yeah, Jeff Costas from Tyler Hill Road.
Okay. That's a good question. When it comes to articles and that kind of thing, it's the town's decision of whether they want to expend that money through taxes or not. What we do here as a select board is we set forth these articles in a budget and say, this is what, our committees and our department heads have brought to us. And, we obviously, go through the budgets and that kind of thing and try to cut them down as much as possible. Our budgets have stayed pretty even, and you are correct. The big jump that, in what we're spending comes in articles on a regular basis.
Right.
Our budgets are flat or less than last year, but that's the town's choice to expend that money. We're not making a choice as a select board right now to expend the money.
No,
We're making the choice to set it in front of the taxpayer and say, hey, this is here, this is available, and do you want to do this or not?
Right.
Farmland is obviously very important to the town of Vernon. I will tell you, I had a conversation with Art this last year, and he said that, he really didn't foresee any new, things coming up. And the idea, was to rebuild to about $250,000 in case something does come up. Now, that fund already has $200,000 in it, so you're talking, $40,000 over the next 2 years at $20,000 a year. Not a significant dollar amount, but I've said it many, many times that every time that I hear it's only $20 in taxes for the year, it's only $5 in taxes for the year, it's only $3 in taxes for the year, it drives me crazy because all of those $3 and $5 and $20 add up quickly, and we're all conscious of that as well. So I think we do our best to set the options in front of the townspeople, and it's the townspeople's choice from there. And I think all of us have a different perspective on every article, from the sheriff's department to farmland to the elderly assistance fund to the town bus. We all have those different perspectives as a select board, and agree and disagree with the expenditures that are made in those groups and categories. But in the end, it's up to the town, and we can sit up as a select board and say, we agree with this for X, Y, Z, or disagree with this for X, Y, Z, but ultimately we don't make the decision. If the taxpayers are okay with their taxes continuing to rise by, supporting the things that they, want and to continue to have in the town of Vernon, then there's not a whole heck of a lot we can do as a select board.
Yeah, I know, I just read, Sherman voters were pretty, so if you folks decided not to appropriate the sum of money for that, then that's what I was just feeling you guys out a little bit as far as your voters would appropriate that, or put it on the town meeting, I'm assuming.
Yes, we're voting right now to even bring it in front. We could essentially take this article, and if we all agreed, we don't want to even bring this in front of the town this year, we should just leave it off of everything.
Right.
Then it wouldn't even come to a town vote.
Gotcha.
But it's something that we've done for many years, and as I said, agriculture is important in the town of Vernon, and it is widely supported at town meeting. Last year it was widely supported, previous years it's been widely supported.
And it is important. The money coming from the taxpayers to conserve it is that's my ag is very
totally
important.
Understand what you're saying.
We're taking town money to help out, and conserve some land, but
Jeff, I'd like to point one thing out.
Yeah.
I'll be a bit briefer. There's a lot of studies that have been done looking at conserving farmland. For every dollar in tax revenue that open land provides to a municipality, it requires 70 cents in municipal services. Houses do not make money for a town. They require fire and police and schools, roads. So
but
just building houses is not gonna be good for the bottom line for the town. A mix of different.
But some other development, something in the town that can actually generate something here, because we're kind of with
industrial, but again, a lot of that is going to be open land too.
I understand, but there's got to be something, because we keep taking the town, and I don't mind. I have no issue with ag. But we're taking town money to conserve it, and it's just, I don't know all the ins and outs of conservation for the farmland, whether it's locked down or it's got to be the money's donated, is going to be paid back, or how that all works. But we're looking at, you just read today that the Colebrook establishment, they're going to close any year. There's just no, whether it be the schoolhouse grocery doesn't involve a bunch of gallons, and the Colebrook is dying on the vine. So clearly, there's nothing. The traffic counts aren't good in the town. That's my concern, is just taking more money and putting it towards this fund. That $20,000 could go someplace else. Where would it be better utilized in the town for the taxpayer dollars? That's kind of where I'm at with things, and saying, if we've got X amount of dollars for the town, what's the best utilization for that fund to help everybody? And I don't disagree. I think housing, I agree. If you got a all the utilities it takes and municipality support for homes, but we should have some sort of plan to come up with something that's gonna generate some more tax base for us.
So just a little inside baseball from the planning commission, which Jeff could probably talk to it better, because I'm not part of the planning commission, but I do a lot of work.
I've talked to him already.
Yeah, I do a lot of work in conjunction with the planning commission regarding the VY property.
Yeah.
So right now, that is the planning commission's focus, it's the select board focus to redevelop that property. Simply because of the infrastructure that's already in existence there.
Yeah.
So we are, doing several different things to that end. So I don't want you to feel like, the select board's sitting up here and we're not looking for the future of Vernon, because we all very much understand what you're saying. We have all been involved in the select board long enough, or lived in town long enough, and saw the massive decline in property tax value right after the closure of VY. It's come back, thankfully. We've seen, our taxes skyrocket and will continue to go up. There's just no way to stop that, unfortunately, unless we significantly decrease the budget and significantly decrease the spending on our articles. That's just not gonna happen. But our town is used to certain things.
I agree.
And they're used to certain abilities to do things like conserve farmland or provide elderly assistance and being able to go out and plow the elderly folks' driveway without any cost to them. These are wonderful things that most towns our size don't have, and our town chooses to continue to support that. Will that always be the case? Probably not, based on, the outcry of how high taxes were when tax bills went out the first time this year.
Yep.
And they will continue to be that way. It's not gonna get cheaper, it's gonna get more expensive. So that's why we, as a select board and a planning commission, are looking to the VY property to help us offset some of the loss that we've seen. We'll never get back to where we were, but we're gonna work our butts off to make sure that, our town is taken care of as much as possible, and that property is used to its fullest potential to regain some of the tax revenue that we lost.
Gotcha.
We are completely focused on that.
Fair enough. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, and I appreciate the question very much. All right, so we got through that one. Shall the voters appropriate a sum of $10,000 to be raised by taxes to fund the previously established elderly assistance fund? Chris?
Nope.
Jeff?
This might be a question for Cindy. So, the current balance in the elderly assistance fund is $45,000. In general, the last few years, have they spent $10,000? In other words, has the balance kind of stabilized at $45,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
The last couple of years, they've spent 10,000 or just under 10,000. It depends on how much snow we get. And
They do other projects too.
They
I
do.
mean, if there's
they do, and
Those handicap ramps
stairs
and
we
things like
have,
that.
So potentially there could be some projects that.
there could be. There wasn't anything big last year, other than the snow. But I think the year before we had a big project.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know. We try, the Elderly Assistance Committee does try to, when people ask for funding, to see if there's other avenues that they can get some assistance from. But
You're on that committee, right?
no, I'm no longer on that
Okay.
committee.
Not anymore, okay.
Could we change that to 5,000 and bring that up to $50,000 instead of?
We'll be back to 45 by the end of next year.
Well, that's
If they spend
we spent just
more.
under 10 this year.
So did Marilyn chime in on this? I seem to remember her coming last year and actually reducing the amount that was originally in the article.
They were asking for 20 and they reduced it
And
to
they
10.
reduced it
Yeah.
to 10, so did she
This
have
year
any
she
thoughts
said
this
the
year?
same.
Just
I think she was
like
basing that on what we spent, like,
What's
what we
been
spent
spent.
last year.
So she doesn't foresee any big projects, I would assume then.
Right.
Sandy?
I'm okay with the 10 because we spent over 9.
Yep. Gene?
Yes, same.
So I'm gonna follow the same line of thinking as Jeff, and, you know, if we spend $10,000 a year or somewhere thereabouts, we have 4.5 years of reserve that sits in that fund right now. And to this gentleman's point, we are at a point where we can no longer lean on our tax base on a monthly basis just to keep a high amount in a fund that is not necessary.
I mean, the return on investment isn't that great. You know, if we've got $45,000 sitting, basically kind of returning inflation.
Yeah. So I would be okay in removing this article this year. Because honestly, if we're gonna put $10,000 in the thing every single year anyway, why not run it down to $20,000 and then start putting $10,000 in it every year from there? And because then it doesn't matter. We're not holding this huge fund balance that never does anything because it's sitting there. And everybody still gets the same services that they've always gotten and always need. We just don't have this huge chunk of money sitting there doing nothing.
But then what do you do if a big project comes along?
That's a risk we have to take. I mean, we have $45,000. Unless we're rebuilding half of somebody's house, I think we'll be okay for a couple of years. Just my thought.
Well, another thought is, as you talk of taxes continually to rise, and then in a few years, you're gonna ask for that money back. You know,
Costs
it's
more.
like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul here.
No, we're spending down an extremely high fund balance and then starting to replenish it again.
Yeah.
What if you were just to appropriate, to put it into 5,000
Yeah.
and see what the voters say?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that either. I'm just giving
I
a
don't-
suggestion.
Yeah, I don't think we ought to take the article out totally.
No.
A more modest request I would agree with.
That's why I thought the 50,000, we just bring it up to that number and call it a day. I mean, we're at 4570 right now.
Okay, so everybody's okay at 5?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $1,100 to be raised by taxes to fund the Vernon historians for the purpose of records, preservation, retention, and promotion of historical education initiatives and insurance coverage? That's really hard to say.
You got through it though.
Yeah, yeah. Guess who's going to be reading this one at town meeting?
Not you.
No, he's gonna do it tonight.
Oh, you get the hard ones.
So that we don't have any balance.
Let's
on that
make
one.
this easy on yourself.
It's not a fund.
That
to
goes
you.
straight. to
It's not a
them.
fund.
It's just an
Oh,
article.
yeah.
Yeah, and that is what they
just get
requested.
we just cut a check to them and give it to them and they do what they want.
Yeah.
So we don't have any
Do what they
tracking of
want
what it
with
was
it.
done with. So we don't know how much they spent last year.
They spent it all because they got it all.
Do other nonprofits have this privilege?
That's how they should. That's what we should do. As a select board, you should say, yes, we want to give the nonprofit this, and it's their treasurer's
It's what they do.
job. So it shouldn't, I mean, if you like what they do, this is you supporting, and essentially it's just like BDCC or hospice, except this is a local nonprofit that you've all agreed to support. So it really should go in, just write them a check and they pay their bills.
Okay.
That's
500.
really how it should work. We used to do their budgets all the time, but it's really up to them. They have a board, they have their own board to figure that stuff out, so.
We have a really hard time of letting go of things like that, and I think it was last year or 2 years ago that we said, you know, this money is yours, you have a board, you can pay your own bills and take care of things.
Except that we're paying.
Except for we're paying to do that, yes, you're correct. You're supporting a local nonprofit. Everybody good with this one? Head nod, head one way or the other? Okay.
Fine.
Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be raised by taxes to fund the operation of the Emergency Management Office?
Have we spoken to David at all?
No.
Just in general, making sure that that amount is still,
Yes, yes, I've spoken to everybody. This did not go in front of you unless I checked. Yes, and he can, it's, about $3,000 for the electric and the utilities for that, and he's taking much less of a salary these days than he was when he first started, when we had more grant money. So yes, he said that that was fine.
good.
And with any luck, we'll actually move the EOC at some point.
That's something, that's a long-term thing we need to consider as well, and this is probably gonna happen long after I'm gone, and all of us here are gone. But do we need to continue to operate an emergency management office in the town of Vernon? Obviously, we still have nuclear waste that sits there. It's very well protected on its own. Could there be an incident? Sure. Being in a part of the emergency management team and the assistant emergency management director in town of Vernon, I understand the value of it. But it's something that, we need to start considering as a town, and do we need it long-term? We obviously do other things outside of, the power plant itself. We look at trains and things like that. There is a crazy amount of stuff and weird things that come through on our tracks. And we have one of the largest number of railroad crossings for a small town in this corner of the state. So we have those issues as well. So I support it, but I'm just saying it's something for us to think about before we go spend, $50,000 on a generator and $100,000 to move the office and, all that kind of thing. What's the long-term goal for the town for the emergency management building and office? So it's something to consider. Being really contemplative tonight, and I'm not sure why, but we're gonna get through this, I swear to God. It is the fumes! Thank you.
He's altered, he's in an altered
He's in
state.
an
Oh,
altered state.
I think I am. Not in a good way either. Shall the voters appropriate $2,000 to be raised by taxes to fund a public fireworks display?
And that was just on last year, so.
So it's the same number as last
put it
year.
out there for your consideration.
Last year, we voted it down.
What's
Because
that?
last year, Hannah asked us not to vote for
Yeah.
it, because she was gonna raise it by fundraising.
Yeah, but we had some money in the fund anyway that she added to make it happen. I don't think that we have anything left in that fund.
We have
do we?
some left, not a whole lot, but we do have some left.
Yeah, like $700 maybe. It's very minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
This is one, do we want to leave it to the town, or do we want to lean on our volunteers that made it happen last year and say,
And
But
remember,
they didn't pay for the fireworks
What's
because they had the money in the fund.
yes.
So they didn't actually raise money to pay for the fireworks last year.
They did the year before.
The year
Yeah.
before.
They did a
Yeah.
real big fundraiser.
Yeah.
But
So the money was in the fund from their fundraising efforts, I guess.
just remember, this will
Previous
fund
years.
fireworks, not this year, but next year.
Sure.
yeah.
I'd leave it on, let the town decide.
Is that everybody else was thinking? This is one that is almost as controversial as the sheriff's.
Yeah, there'll be longer discussion about this.
So we'll have a lot of discussion about $2,000 and have no discussion about $200,000.
Right.
Shall the voters appropriate $25,000 to be raised to fund the professional services fund?
I don't think we need that one, we've got 264,000 in that fund.
That's what I said about elderly assistants, and you disagreed with me.
Well,
we're talking $500,000.
64, that's like, over
I'm just giving you a hard
$200,000.
time.
Yeah,
Just giving you a hard
someone
time.
get the air
We did
freshener
get
going.
So-
money reimbursed to us from North Star that was spent out of there, so
Yes.
we got the whole amount that we had submitted to them.
Yep.
We We don't need to request 25.
Okay. I'm in the same vein.
See, look at what you've done for us now. Look at all this stuff we're pulling out of here.
Shall the voters approve the provision of notice of availability of the town report, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
This is mailing, only those that we have to, and it's just postcard. Same thing we've done for the last few years to save money. Yes, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Shall the voters appropriate $40,000 to be raised by taxes to fund the town culvert fund?
Oh, yeah. Isn't the culvert gonna be like 400 plus thousand?
The Tyler Hill culvert is 430,000 is what they're looking
Yeah,
at.
so I think
Price tag going up
So
every
the,
day.
And
It
right
does.
now, we have enough for the match for the grant, for that. So
that's all.
we do, the 300 is the one that funds the TA grant we're attacking.
not sure.
Pretty much do it and
They didn't guarantee they'll give us any, so.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we still gotta continue to build that fund and
Mhm.
hope that we have the grant, and then maybe next year, if we get the grant and we get some of the big projects done, we can pull it next year.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's other culverts.
Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $100,000 to be raised by taxes to fund the town road upgrade fund?
Yeah.
So if we look at current spending and past spending,
We need it.
it's right where we need to be. Do we know what projects, I think we might have asked David, what roads that we're planning 2 years out for this?
What his plans are for 2 years out?
Well, that's
Well,
what this would be
budget
funding.
year. Oh, I don't know. off the top
Okay.
of my head.
Alright.
I can get a list from him.
I'm sure he has a list, I was just curious. So I'm being contemplative. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $2,500 to be raised by taxes to fund the town parking lots maintenance fund?
So we got $64,000 in it already.
Yeah, this is another one that I'm, because the rec's been done in the last 4 years, the town office has been done in the last 4 years, if I remember
At
correctly.
the school.
It wouldn't be our expenditure.
That's not us, I hope.
So the only project that I can foresee is
What did they,
the highway garage. So if we wanna kick it, it's $2,500 one way or the other. I mean,
Or we can leave and have David defend it at town meeting.
yeah, nobody's gonna say anything about $2,500 at town meeting, but most likely.
Unless it's fireworks.
Unless it's fireworks, yeah, yeah.
then move that to the fire.
Town parking lots fireworks. Maintenance.
Yeah, I like it. So what do we wanna do with this,
Table.
folks?
You wanna table it and see if I can get Dave to come back?
If he can
Find out
just,
what his plans are for the.
if he could just send us in an email, he doesn't need to come here. Send us in an email what his road upgrade fund plans are, what roads he has planned, and what parking lots he has planned for that budget season.
And is there any other culverts that are on the agenda, not including the Tyler Hill one?
I think there might,
There's, it's kind of continual.
Yeah.
as the state changes their regulations.
Right, but, I mean, that's all I'm saying
And thanks for that.
is there going to be, if we didn't get that grant, are we going to have enough money in here to take care of that as well as upkeep on any of the other ones?
We should by the time that the culvert has to be done by state regs.
So Dave's original plan was to finish this culvert by Tyler Hill by 2023.
Yeah.
So hopefully if we get the grant funding, we can start saving money for the next culvert. There's quite a culvert inventory was recently done in 2018, and it lists pretty specifically what culverts need to be changed and what needs to be upgraded. And Tyler Hill happened to be one that absolutely needed to be fixed immediately because it was so degraded that they need to put a temporary in, so that's why he's going for that one.
Yeah, it's a large culvert too.
and it's big. But there's a number of culverts that need upgrading in town, and they're quite pricey, so.
They get more expensive as the state changes their regulations, how everything has to flow and diameters of culverts and all that kind of thing.
But I would get a list of his culvert
You gotta
priorities.
save Lake Champlain. Not sure how that works from down here, but that's the idea. All right.
So we're
Giving-
keeping the parking lot, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
we'll question David on the parking lot and
I
and the roads and,
I will put that correspondence in your packet for next
Okay.
time, or forward you an email.
so do we wanna relook at both articles when we have the information in front of us?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll relook at I and J.
Just I and J?
Yep.
You go okay with culverts, right?
Yep.
All right. Giving Tree, we need to allow the library to have the Giving Tree up again this year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to grant permission for the Giving Tree this year. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Very good. Harold and Cindy,
I don't benefit from it, but.
sorry, Smith Cemetery deed, please.
I move that we approve and sign the cemetery deed for Harold and Cindy Smith and Tyler Cemetery, so called.
Second.
Moved and seconded to sign the cemetery deed for Harold and Cindy Smith. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Public participation on non-agenda items. We lost our public. Bye, public.
Sure.
Correspondence and town admin report.
Okay, your correspondence in your packets. Not a lot this last couple weeks. I did want to call your attention to the email from Andrew Mills, who emailed from the National Grid. They are planning to build a maintenance and operations center in the same location as a house now on Fort Bridgeton Road, Route 142. And in order to do that, they are going through Act 250 permitting and have asked me to fill out the municipal impact questionnaire. Just wanted to double check with the select board that there's gonna be minimal employees there, occasionally some maintenance done in the building. They'll be removing the house that's there and pretty much replacing it with the building. And the question is, do we foresee any impact on our emergency services, EMS, police, fire, any road maintenance impacts, or what's the other one? Solid waste disposal impacts.
Is everybody familiar with where this is? I can kind of explain it to you. So
Okay.
as you're going down 142 and it starts to get back to where Governor Hunt Road comes back together on the south end, there's a little white house and then there's a 2-bay woodshed that sits way in the back that's fairly new. So I think it's very shortly after the Richardson's house. So Richardson's, and it's got its own, it's the last house on the left before you get to the opening where all the houses are that sit in the triangle.
So Covey's old house.
Here's a picture.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
If you-
geez,
It's in
if
the
you got-
ticket. I know,
Sorry.
but I couldn't tell.
Oh.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
I know where it is.
Counts for
So I didn't
Culvert.
need to,
I'm gonna go try
I didn't
this.
need to look at the picture, but yeah, it's the little white house and the
Oh,
yard is
okay.
open way in the back and then there's a big woodshed in the back there.
Oh.
You'll see it on the
It's
way
very
home we go, duh.
open.
Yes.
The property's very
The
open.
property is extremely open,
There's
yeah.
like a garage is nearest the road and then the house? Is that-
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay, yeah.
yep.
Wow.
So it's right on the edge.
And what is that for?
Tucked away.
It's whether it will impact the town or not.
No, I get, but what is,
They're going to build an operations, I think it's 3,000 square foot. A
32.
couple of offices, which won't be manned all the time, and mostly repair area, maintenance shop
The warehouse.
for who?
So.
for the National Grid.
Okay. That was the part I
Oh,
missed.
sorry.
And I don't have my packet with me, so.
Because, this is going Act 250, does that
Yes.
mean that the neighbors get information from the
Yes.
state? It
They have
does,
to
right?
sign off on the
Yeah.
Act 250.
Yeah. Well, that's good, I would want the neighbors to be informed.
Nope.
Right.
So
They have
is,
a-
going through that list of what it will impact, obviously, it's not a town road, so it's probably not gonna impact our town roads.
Yeah.
The only thing that I can think of that it would have any impact on is emergency services. So if someone gets hurt from National Grid, whether on the property, if there is a fire at the building, obviously that becomes our issue as a town to assist them in that. That was my only thinking in looking at that questionnaire that could possibly be an impact to the town.
But we do have the capacity to provide it, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
we do have the
Right,
Yeah,
capacity.
we would
It's-
provide those services.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to hire more people.
Right.
No. You get what you get with the volunteer fire department anyway.
I think it's a good idea.
Brattleboro's not far away.
That's true.
I move that we have Michelle sign this.
Second.
Look at
Do we really
Jeff.
need a
Came to.
vote on this?
No, not really, but
Okay.
it's, because you have given me that
So we're good.
ability to do administrative stuff,
Just-
but this was kind of on the cusp, I just wanted.
Just general consensus,
I'll-
we're
yeah,
okay with
yeah,
her
okay.
signing it?
We both drew it, so you don't have to put it in.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
General consensus is yes.
Yes.
Consensus,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and the only other thing I have is that, MFT is working on the floors, almost done, he was hoping to have them done
Really?
by
I
this
didn't notice.
evening. And,
I'm only high as a kite right now.
you had
from that
approved the
stuff.
expense of $1,800 for it. He did submit an invoice, he did have a lot of, higher dump fee than he was hoping, so the invoice came in at $1,830 to cover all of the 15 boxes of pads, I guess, that he had to pay to get rid of. So I said that I would bring it to my select board to get that approved this evening.
Do you need a motion to approve the,
Well, it's over the 1,800, then it's
I
over
move that we
that.
approve the overage for the floors.
$30.
That's
Second.
$30.
Moved and seconded to approve the overage of the floor stripping and waxing of $30. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Just as a side note, before I adjourn the meeting, I did
Who
send,
seconded?
Gene.
I did.
Seth a quick message that we need to see everything. He's going to attempt to bring it to tomorrow's budget meeting because he's gonna be here anyway. And if we wanna take the time and look at it and are okay with it, we can approve it tomorrow night. If not, we'll push it off to the next agenda. But we should have everything in hand tomorrow, since he's gonna attend anyway. All right?
Very good.
Upcoming meetings, tomorrow night, same bad time, same bad channel. Regular select board meeting, December 3rd, and budget meeting on December 4th. We are adjourned.
Did you hear about the